Alabama lost to Tennessee. Now it's on to Mizzou in a top 25 matchup at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Mike thinks we're going to win this game, and he's going to tell you why. All you naysayers, Mike's got a message for you. So you better stick around for this show. It's time for the All-American Report. Like and subscribe and give us a thumbs up and get in the comments section and roll tide, everybody. Presented by mybookie.ag. Use the promo code NEXTROUND to double your initial deposit. Alabama and Mizzou, before we even talk any Tennessee, tell people why they need to go put all their money at mybookie.ag on Alabama. Mike, it's a 15.5-point spread. Team's been terrible the last 3 games.
Yeah, and you and I, obviously, we have certain ways we look at Alabama and certain ways you look at Mizzou, and you kind of dive in, and me and you can make all the expert opinions we want to on the matchups and, this corner against this wide receiver or the safeties against Jalen or the front 7 against the O-line. I think anybody who would have looked at Bama the way Bama played Saturday and Mizzou against Auburn, and they get a gritty comeback win, different team with Brady Cook on the field after he's gone for 2 hours. Like, Mizzou's good, dude. Win the Cotton Bowl last year. You're thinking, okay, this game is probably going to look a lot like the Tennessee game, 3.5-point spread, whatever it may be. Then you check Vegas's line, and it's like 13.5, 14. Tells me Vegas really likes Bama this week. Like, Vegas loves Bama. You're talking about, look at the way Bama's looked the last 3 weeks. And Mizzou is still a, 5-1 team at this point, 6, whatever it is.
6-1, yeah.
6-1. And Bama's a 2-touchdown favorite. Like, I'm not even looking at matchups, Mick. I'm just straight up looking at our friends, that sponsor the show. And I'm looking at these lines going, dude, Vegas, for whatever reason, just loves Bama in this matchup. Seems like Vegas expects a bounce-back performance for Bama. And I got to be honest with you. I'm expecting a bounce-back performance, too, because if there's not, I might be hitting the panic button a little bit if we don't look better than we did Saturday, Mick. I mean, you and I talked about it. The last 3 weeks, we've been in the tank. The problem is it's for 3 different reasons, in my opinion. Like, it's not just like, sometimes when there's like a coaching transition and it's a new scheme and you look at it and go, well, when Kalen gets his guys, when they're able to recruit a better line of scrimmage, when they're able to stay healthy in the back end, when he can recruit his quarterback, whatever it may be, it's not what we're dealing with. Jalen Milroe, they lost against Vanderbilt. Jalen Milroe played almost lights out against Vanderbilt. You lose against South Carolina, and Jalen Milroe makes bad decisions. You don't lose against South Carolina. You almost lose against South Carolina. There's some funky thing, onside kick, 4th down conversion. You're like, man, and then this past weekend, honestly, Mick, was the worst I think Bama's looked. I know that Vanderbilt, Tennessee, 2 different animals. Bama did not look good at all because it looked disjointed. It looked like there was no communication. It looked like our guys on offense had not watched film or been in a meeting room all week. Just guys going, offensive linemen running into each other. Mick, we had a situation. Lord, Bear Bryant's rolling over in his grave right now. There's a situation, Mick, where they walk up 7 guys to the line of scrimmage. 7 guys, their whole front 7's at the line of scrimmage. We're in 4 wideouts with a running back in the backfield with Milroe. You know what Milroe does? Motions the running back out from behind him. They bring the 7, and Milroe tries to escape with his legs instead of getting the ball out right now and saying, boy, they're going to bring all these guys at the line of scrimmage. The read has to be the running back. Let me get it out of my hands. It's just like, oh, here's 7 guys. I've got 5 blockers. Let me use my legs. Like, it just seemed like nothing was game planned for in this game. And I've been very hesitant to kind of go back to offensive coaches. But to me, when you look at how disjointed they looked in the run game, in pass protection, Milroe looked as confused as he has ever looked since he's been at Bama. There's nowhere to go but up offensively from what I saw this past weekend, Mick.
I got this feeling, I've said it publicly, I'll say it to you. I just got this feeling that Milroe's banged up. Something's not right. I look on covercrimson.com. You guys, we want you to be a member. Join us. You got until until Sunday to sign up for $1. But if you do the annual subscription, you get the t-shirt, which I love the t-shirt here. The Cover Crimson t-shirt comes with the annual subscription. But Stacey Blackwood put this together. Since the Georgia game, Milrose 59 and 92 passing, 64%, 758 yards, 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, right? 57 yards rushing on 39 attempts. That scares the hell out of me. With 3 touchdowns, and Bama's got a 1-2 record. Stacey's nailed it, man. I mean, like that's all the information you need to know right now, that there is something wrong. And I know he's better than those throws I saw him missing at Tennessee. It's not nerves. Something's just not right.
Well, there's a level of panic, right? I think there's a level of panic for him, for Bama fans, for everybody watching him play, because the lack of understanding seemingly has gone down the tank. Now, I'm with you, and Stacey, whatever, and I too think that there's probably something physically wrong. The problem is I can't imagine what ailment that Jalen has that causes him to run gingerly, which he has. He's run out of bounds way more times the last couple of games than you ever imagine he would. Usually before that, like against Wisconsin, he's taken 3 and 4 guys down with him. He's kind of gingerly running out of bounds right now. So I'm like, okay, lower body injury. Maybe he doesn't want to throw his shoulder in there. And maybe it is a shoulder, because then you see some of the throws. There's inaccuracies. There's sailing the ball. There's throws that we have not grown accustomed to seeing any Alabama quarterback make. And I thought this was Jalen's worst game. I mean, I don't know. I'm going all the way back to the beginning of last season until I can think of that. My question is, I guess, Mick, and this is what we have to start identifying, because I've said this a million times. I love the player that Jalen is. I will ride with Jalen till he takes the crimson jersey off, and I'll be there to see him put his handprints in Denny Chimes if I have to. I think we have to wonder if this is just who he is, though, because we've seen the best version of Jalen, right? Against Georgia, the couple of times we've seen him play. Obviously, a couple of times this season, we've seen Jalen just go off. But we've also seen stretches where Jalen hasn't done much of anything, right? I think the frustrating thing for me is I've talked about the run game. I talked about how I believe in this offensive line. I know that Roberts at right guard's banged up. Elijah Pritchett's been banged up. I think that when you have a quarterback that's struggling at Alabama, you ought to be able to run the ball. Mm-hmm. RTDF, right? Run the damn football. Hand the ball off to Jam Miller and get 5-6 yards and do some things dynamically. This offensive line, for whatever reason, can't do that right now. And I think it's frustrating for me to watch. This offensive line, Mick, if you just put them in an Oklahoma drill or whatever it may be, all 5 of these guys, or 6 or 7 or whatever the amount is that's playing, they would win the majority of those reps. But they're not playing together as a unit. They're not getting off their double teams. They're not really signaling who they're supposed to be double teaming up to or who they're pulling for. There's a lack of understanding, and I think that's frustrating, because I think they did actually try to run the ball a little bit more this past weekend, take some of the stuff off Jalen's shoulders, but they couldn't. And then Jalen couldn't run the ball, and no matter what you try to do, you couldn't get it going. It's just I came out of that game with way more questions than I thought I would.
Yeah, me too. I mean, if you would have said at the beginning of the year, hey, Alabama's going to be 5-2, and I'm looking at the schedule, I'm figuring you probably lose to Tennessee and Georgia. But then as I see the season progress, I think that this team has the potential to beat everybody on the schedule. And it's been the lack of discipline, which we've talked about on here. And people were defending, the way that Malachi acted. And it was never personal towards Malachi. I think we all like him. Just you can't do that stuff. And the other part of it too is when the official puts the football down and you run over and kick it, those are people. Okay. You're going, what do you mean, Mick? You don't think that when Sandy Alomar spit in the umpire's face, and you young people probably don't even remember this, but Baltimore had
it wasn't Sandy. It was Roberto.
Roberto. Thank you.
Yeah, the kid. Don't get that one wrong. How about that?
Brother. It was his brother. Okay. Yeah. He spit in the umpire's face, got an 11-game suspension. And then the Orioles are playing the Yankees, and a kid named Jeffrey Mayer reaches over the wall and should have been caught what should have been an out. And the umpires wouldn't change it. Okay, this was before instant replay. But the bottom line is this. is that they're people, and they all saw that video. And these guys aren't, even if they were all in the union like they have in the Major League Baseball umpires, or they were NFL officials. These guys aren't even really, like, to me, pros. I mean, they're just kind of like amateur guys that do officiating on the weekend. They see that. They see that lack of respect. They hate that, and they're going to remember that. And the other thing is why Saban got a lot of calls. Saban never, ever criticized the officials. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Like, he'd be like, well, we should have done this better. We should have done that. He knew damn better than that. He knew that the officials, when they messed up, they messed up. But he also knew that you're dealing with people. And that level of a lack of discipline and disrespect, it haunts you this day and age. It isn't like it used to be where you're reading in a newspaper. Everybody in the world has a clip of that incident. And the officiating stunk in Tennessee, just like it did last time. And here we are. We got a guy getting into a scuffle at the end of the game. Should have been flags on both players, but he gets the flag, and he basically sucked the life out of the drive in the most important, pivotal part of the game. And guess what? We just walk on the sideline. Hey, my bad. As Coach Saban said, give me the my bads. My bad. And now guess what? You just lost to Tennessee, but you lost to Tennessee without even going down. At least if you would have gone down with a fight, nobody would sit here and be like, no, you guys rolled over on your back because you couldn't not fight with the other team in the most pivotal part of the game.
Yeah.
Not to hijack your show, Mike.
No, man, this is our show. I think it's important to talk about, man, because there were times that this happened when Saban first got to Alabama as well. And I'll never forget, man, he used to drop every expletive in the world, and then he would say, "You're vanity. You're effing GD and whatever else it was. Your vanity. Your vanity is the reason that you threw a punch, or that you pushed somebody, or because you didn't want to get disrespected in front of people on the field, right? It was your vanity. You couldn't swallow your pride to do what's best for your team." And I'm not blaming it on that one play, but I do think that there is something to what you're saying, that there's probably a bigger issue afloat. My question is, Mick, the issue that it seems like we have, behavioral wise or whatever it may be, and I don't think it's a lingering issue, and I'll get to the national narrative later. My question is this a simple element of Kalen DeBoer not recruiting these guys, not knowing these guys on a really deep level the way you do when guys are 3 and 4 years into a program? Is it hey, I made Malachi a captain, or people voted on him as a captain. I don't know that I can really undress him right now because the I'm newer to the locker room than he is. It's almost like this, like he doesn't want to go too deep on some of these guys or chew rear ends because number one, he is, a first-year coach. And number two, this is the portal era where guys will just be like, hey man, I'm out. You screamed at me. I'm out of here. I don't like you. I'm leaving. So something's got to change from that aspect for sure. It's going to happen where some guys, you'll get a personal foul and somebody will shove somebody. Like I said a number of times, happened to Lana McClain, happened to people all the time when I was there. But they always got chewed out for it. They always got undressed for it. It was always on the good, bad, and the ugly tape. And they always were held accountable for those mistakes. And I would love to see the inner workings of the building right now and see the accountability, but I didn't see it on camera on Saturday night. And I'm with you. That was one of the more depressing parts of the entire saga, along with the lack of wherewithal seemingly by the team in certain situations of getting things done. So it was, I didn't panic after Vanderbilt. You and I talked about this. I was like, dude, Vanderbilt's good.
Yeah.
I don't know that Bama's hitting on all cylinders. Vanderbilt's good, hangover, whatever it may be. Vanderbilt can beat Alabama. They did. South Carolina game, I'm like, man, it's just, it's one of those things where they put themselves in some bad spots and South Carolina capitalized. This past weekend, dude, there's no reason Bama should have lost that game.
Yeah.
None. No reason. Tennessee was missing wide open receivers down the field. Miscommunication in the back end, even with the injuries, even with the Sab injury and a number of injuries in the back end. I'm still going, you should be able to run the ball down Tennessee's throat, and you're not. And to me, that's a deeper issue than anything else I've seen throughout the season, is that the opportunity was there. You have better personnel. You should have a better scheme. For whatever reason, I mean, there's times in this game, Mick, where I think Jalen's reading the wrong guy. There's offensive linemen going the wrong direction, and Jalen's looking over here, and some guy's hitting him from here. It's like, where's the miscommunication here? And it was frustrating to watch, man. I was a palms down guy, Mick, after the Vanderbilt game. Right now, I'm a palms up guy. I'm like, what is going on? Because a lot of deeper issues right now than I even saw in the Vanderbilt game. And I don't have answers for them, to be quite honest with you. There's too many of them for me to sit here and go, well, they need to do this, they need to do that. No, I would have to sit in the meeting room and watch tape with them in order for me to know what they need to do better right now, because it seems like of 11 players on offense, sometimes it seems like 6 of them are running a different play than the rest of them. So I don't know.
Yeah, feels like that. I mean, something's awry. I feel like if Milroe's hurt and that's the best he can give us, then he's going to have to sit, and somebody else is going to have to play the position. I mean, it's like that with everybody. It's not like Keon Sabb's out there. You know, if he's hurt, you know, if Milroe's injured and if he can't do better than that, we got to go to somebody else. We have a very deep quarterback room. And when you can't make the little tiny short passes that he couldn't make, and he's not making the deep pass, and he's only throwing it to one player, it's just when he's at his best, he's spreading the ball out, he's running the ball. I think he's out there trying to play through whatever's going on. I'm just not willing to say that he's healthy, because I know he's not. I know he's better than that. I know he's better than he's played. But whatever's happening right now, if we're going to lose, I'd rather lose with somebody that can go out there and gunsling it a little bit than what we're doing.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I don't know. I still trust Kalen DeBoer at this point to make that decision. And maybe if you read into it, there's something that Jalen Milroe gives you that none of those other quarterbacks do. And maybe it's because you feel like he can be dynamic in the run game and it kind of opens things up.
Yeah.
Offensive line's definitely not holding up their part. They didn't this past weekend. I thought that was their worst performance. I don't even know how long it's been since I've seen. And you know, I watch the O-line every day, every game, every play. I'm like, that's the guys I want to see. I thought Tyler Booker played really well. Thought your left tackle and center were above average. Right side, I know the injuries at right guard. It is what it is. Elijah Pritchett got beat a couple times, but it's just little things, Mick. The timing of the cadence. I don't know that they changed up the head bob or the clap or whatever else. I don't know if they changed it up one time. I don't know if they did it one time. And that's a lot of times in those situations, that's on the quarterback in the center. That's not the offensive coordinator or the head coach isn't going, hey, let's go on 2. That's the quarterback in the center. That's them getting in the huddle going, hey, we need to go on 2 head bobs. We need to 2 claps. We need to this, that, and the other. We need to change this up so that these guys aren't getting off getting off the line of scrimmage and getting a jump. I know the crowd noise is an issue in Neyland Stadium. I've been there, played through it. But when you get a ground game going, a lot of times you can kind of quiet that down. I really think that they tried more than they have in the last couple of weeks to get the ground game actually going. But it almost exposed the fact that we're just not very good at it at times. And Tennessee kind of created havoc up front that I didn't expect that they would be able to do and shouldn't have been able to do. And that's one of the reasons I'm scratching my head more than ever, because it's frustrating to watch, man.
Well, the good news, Mike, is with everything that's happened, is that all we got to do is just start winning and we can get into the college football playoff.
Yeah.
And
you got winnable games.
Right. And I mean, look, all of these games are winnable, but you got to go out there and start back to taking one game at a time. One game at a time.
You do, Mick. And I think that who was it that said get comfortable being uncomfortable? That's what I'm doing. I'm getting comfortable being uncomfortable heading into Saturday. I know that Bama fans feel the same way. To your point, though, I'll be curious to see, LSU and A&M face off this weekend. They're shockingly the number 1 and number 2 teams in the SEC, right? Those are kind of your representatives right now when you look at the SEC. I know that Georgia's ranked higher, but the SEC standings tell you LSU and A&M are undefeated in this league, right? And so that'll be a matchup of unbeatens. Behind them, Mick, I think there are 5 one-loss teams in the SEC. Right behind those 2 undefeated teams, and one of those teams will join those ranks this weekend. So you'll get your shot at LSU. Obviously, you'll get your shot at Mizzou this weekend. Oklahoma, Lord knows, that is a dumpster fire right now. So I you know, what's that?
I said it's worse than us.
Oh, it's definitely
way.
Not only that, I got to tell you, man, we got to talk about this just a little bit. Not to jab at Auburn fans, but the fact that the Missouri quarterback left for 2 hours, Auburn's in complete control of that game with Peyton Thorne, and this guy comes back from the hospital after getting an MRI and leads a comeback against Auburn. Has lost more ways than I can think that I thought would be possible to lose a game. But that game is always tough at the end of the year, so be curious to see how that one kind of rolls. But you're right, it's all out in front of you. But I just, to me, it's not even about making the college football playoff at this point. It's not. Like, to me, it's about the health of this program. And I am still 1,000% on board with Kalen DeBoer. I think he's good for this team. I think this is a new era of college coaching. Nick Saban's style was starting already not to work at the end of his tenure. And now things are changed. Not to go off on a tangent, but can we talk about this for 1 second? Would you people, like anybody that's listening to us, I'm not saying you have to listen to our podcast, Mick. I'm not saying you got to listen to our show, our video, whatever it is, however you digest what me and you were talking about. But can you please stop responding or retweeting or replying to the national pundits about what they think about Kalen DeBoer? Because you know what? It doesn't matter. Don't let freaking Stephen A. Smith or Paul Feinbaum or whoever else it may be, don't let those guys get you up in arms. Because every time you respond on Facebook or on Twitter and you quote tweet, it just pushes the message further. And people are reveling in the fact that Bama's struggling right now. People are eating it up. I live in Atlanta, dude. Like, people are eating it up. So if I have a message to Bama fans right now, stop doing that. Man, come to Cover Crimson and listen to us. Commiserate with us. All right. We are in the trenches with you. We're not reveling in this. We're a part of this. All right. Stop responding to all these other people and saying, man, this guy's wrong. Yeah, well, you just amplified his opinion. You know what I mean? Stop doing that, man. I'm sorry I had to go off on a tangent there. I hate that. It's ridiculous.
I'm with you, man. I'm glad you said it because you're exactly
It drives me nuts. Well, Stephen A. says this about Kalen DeBoer. I don't freaking care. I don't even know if Stephen A's watched 1 minute of Alabama football.
He hasn't.
We got to listen to these national pundits. They're gonna tell me who's the favorite for the Kentucky Derby and why Floyd Mayweather's going to get a knockout on Saturday night, and you know who's going to win the Stanley Cup, and they're going to tell me Kalen DeBoer's the wrong guy for the freaking job, man.
And they haven't watched any of it.
And haven't seen any of it.
Yeah, right.
Like,
it's hard to
stop doing that, man. Like, I promise. And like I said, I'm not saying people need to listen to us. We're in the trenches with you, man. Like, we're all in this together. Let's fight our way out of it. With all that being said, I still believe in Kalen DeBoer, Mick. I do.
I do too.
I still believe in Kalen DeBoer.
Look,
man, you're right. We got to get it. To me, more than the playoff, it's about how this team responds the rest of the way, the mentality we take, the dumb penalties, the going on the road, whatever else. Like, get back to playing good football, winning your one-on-ones, and doing the things that got this program in the position it's in.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, man. I watched the press conferences yesterday, and I'm just laughing at the explanation on the fake injury and the explanation on the double fadeaway jump basketball shot on the 4th down and the explanation on the Kendrick Law penalty. And I'm just thinking, like, you guys got to get it together, but I'm still believing, I'm not off the wagon yet, but you got to get it together. Now is the time to get it together. You got to get this team going because you're this close, man. You're this close to going this way, and you're also this close to going this way. I can't remember a season quite like this.
Yeah, kind of teetering, right?
Yeah.
And I will remind you guys that Bama right now, composite ranking, still number 2 recruiting team in the country, which is nice to hear. And I think that that's kind of one of the things where I'm like, I'm still on board with Kalen DeBoer. Like, one of the things that might cause me to start being like, like if that recruiting ranking starts slipping and you're all of a sudden right around 10 and you're not performing well, then I'm gonna be like, I don't know about this.
And I hate to disagree with you, but we're number 1 and we just got to flip today. Yeah,
I was looking at CBS HQ this morning, was playing while I was on the radio, and I was like,
3.
well, there you go.
On 3.
Yeah.
They're the only place that I've worked and has fired me, but I still like them. We're we're
Can
we're
we
ahead of
real
Ohio
quick?
State. What's that?
Can we real quick talk about all the things you're talking about, the non-football stuff, the
Yeah, go ahead.
jumper? I don't like. Okay, so I got to be honest with you. I had to work an appearance Saturday, and when the injury thing happened, I didn't quite catch all of it. But here was my initial reaction. You tell me if I'm right or wrong. When you get injured, and your backup is not like in and out of the game and things like that, like an offensive line, you have to go down on the field. Like if your center goes down, that allows your backup to get snaps with the quarterback. Like he needs those reps, because you don't want your center walking in, having not done a shotgun snap in an hour, and then all of a sudden having to throw one back on a third down, whatever it may be. So those are big situations. My initial reaction when somebody explained it to me was they were basically telling this guy to get down on the field so that the play would be stopped, so his backup would be able to get in. Now, granted, like I just said, I didn't see the entire situation unfold, and I might be wrong on that, might be off. I know that Greg said something about it in the booth and called it a fake injury. That was my initial reaction. So you tell me if I'm right or wrong.
The way that I interpreted it was this: Alabama was supposed to be allowed to substitute there, but the officials, like they've done all season, it's not even like this game, screwed it up. And so he was going down so that they would be able to get the substitution that they were supposed to get anyway. And that's why DeBoer was screaming. But talking about Greg McElroy, and I know you played with him, 2010, this season kind of reminds me of 2010, man. He was one of the leaders of that team, and it's the most disappointing season that Nick Saban talked about it a lot. I remember watching that team. You played with a lot of those guys. They had a ton of talent, but they just didn't know how to lead as the top dog and be successful leading into success. And then they won back-to-back championships the next year. And then
I remember being so frustrated in 2010 watching. Yeah, I think now that's Julio's last season, Mark's last season. Marcel Darius went, third overall. Trent was still, Trent was coming into his own. Your offensive line, James Carpenter was a first rounder at left tackle. You had Barrett Jones, who was a sophomore at that point, but had already started, 2 seasons worth of games. You had a lot of talent. Dante Hightower. I mean, Lord knows, you keep going down the list of people. Mark Barron. So yeah, I'm with you. It was a frustrating year to watch, because you're like, man, why can't this team just get it right now? Like they're just missing something. And that's how I feel about this team. It's like all the pieces are in place, all the talent's there, and yet continuity wise, it just feels like they're missing something. So, like I said, I didn't want to get off on a tangent about the jumper, how I feel about that, or,
they said they coached it though. I mean, do you coach that?
No. Well, here's the thing. And I think the jumper is a whole nother, in every system I've been in, when you run a quarterback sneak,
right,
you tell the wide receivers to back away from the line of scrimmage. And the point is so that the line judge looking down the line can get a clear spot of the ball without worrying about a receiver's arms in the way or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw it, I thought, okay, they're trying to have fun with this situation. And they're trying to say, hey, we're going to get our arms out of the way and all this other stuff so that the official can have a clear view. Yet the timing of it is like, dude, it would be funny if that happened and you were up by 3 touchdowns and you were quarterback sneaking to put the game away. And it's like, but on the road against Tennessee, when you're struggling as bad as you are, you're like, man, what a bad optic. Like, that's just not how they drew it up, right? I mean, so I think there's something to the fact that you don't ever want your receivers to move. Like, it's like, don't run a route, back up. Like, I want the official to see clearly where the ball is. So that has some, I think that was the initial thought. The jumper, though, like, bad place, bad time, bad program, bad whatever, man. I don't need to see that anymore. So that, and I know there's been some growing some legs, like people like, are they pumping crowd noise in? I don't know if that was a thing from the booth with Chris Stewart or whatever else, but I've had questions about that a number of times too. And I got to tell you this story, Mick, because everybody's like, man, Tennessee ain't pumping crowd noise in. I had this question when I was with the Atlanta Falcons, like 2013, 2014. And somebody's like, man, it seems like the dome is louder than the fans. That, like, it seems like the stadium's loud. I'm like, man, what do you mean? Like, I don't know. Are they pumping in noise? I'm like, nah, man. Like, who would do that? No, they're not pumping in noise. Like, the next weekend, I go to the Georgia Dome, it's a Falcons home game, and I'm there, and I'm like, Man, you know, it is loud compared to like there's a lot of empty seats in this place.
Yeah,
It's
right.
on fire. Dude, sure enough, like a year later, they're under investigation for pumping crowd noise into the Georgia Dome. Some guy gets fired, another one gets suspended. Like,
Really?
dude, it was an NFL dumpster fire. Like, it was crazy. Rich McKay, who was our president at the time, he got suspended from the competition committee. They got caught doing that. So my reaction was, that's ridiculous. Tennessee's not pumping in crowd noise. And I thought, you know what? I've had this conversation before about 10 years ago, and I said the same thing, and it turned out I was wrong. So I don't know, man. It's whether they were or not, loud atmospheres are going to happen. I hate the fact that we're talking about pumping in crowd noise and jumpers on a quarterback sneak and, you know, fake injuries when the problems are all much bigger than that, much more amplified, specifically at the line of scrimmage.
I heard him say that too. I was listening to the first half, and I was thinking about Roger Hoover, who is a big Tennessee fan and works and graduated from there, works for Crimson Tide Sports Network. And I was thinking, like, maybe he knows something from knowing all those people in the press box, because I heard him say that, and I thought, you know, the guy's sitting right next to him. I mean, that's just a theory for me, but I you know, like you, I mean, it's like the initial thought, you're going, you know, how are you pumping in crowd noise? But then again, I mean, you know, you already got 100,000 people in there, you know, but I mean,
shouldn't need to. And I don't think to be clear, I don't think they did. I wasn't there, but I can't imagine any set of speakers that is louder than the loudest stadiums I've played in. Like Auburn, yeah. I wouldn't have heard a speaker. I wouldn't have heard a speaker at LSU. Neyland, when I played there, I wouldn't even have heard speakers, you know? So I don't think they needed that in that instant, but it was definitely seemed loud. So I'll leave it there.
Well, look, we did another show. This was fun. We got fired up today. You gave the people a message that I think they needed to hear. And I'm excited about the next show when we really focus on Missouri, because I think we really have to focus on Missouri. And I think that Missouri can beat Alabama. I think if Alabama is not playing their best, that they're going to lose again. And I hope that doesn't happen. So I hope that this is the game where Alabama gets it all turned around. And the last thing I'll say is, you know, and kind of let you chew on this, but, you know, I've heard stories from guys who played at Alabama, and when people made decisions like Kendrick Law, that they got into fist fights with them in the locker room. Now, I don't know how that was for you guys, but that there was kind of the accountability was, if you ruin all the hard work that we just put in because your vanity, as you would say,
your GD vanity.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're fist fighting. I don't get the vibe that that's happening right now. But did that ever happen with you guys? And how do you hold someone, you know, because now your captain's done it, and now, you know, so your defensive captain's done it, and now the guy on offense has done it. So both sides of the ball have made these decisions. And to me, this is a discipline issue that has to get fixed somehow.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that's probably – there was probably less of that happening when Nick Saban showed up, because you knew that he was going to handle it. And we've talked a number of times about this being probably more of a player-led program. The problem is, like you said, when Malachi Moore is the one doing it and he's your captain, and you already have the C on your chest, which we didn't believe in when I was in school, that becomes an issue, right? Who is going to hold the captain accountable, right? I mean, it's kind of got to be the coach at that point. So I don't know, man. I definitely think there's probably been some conversations. I don't know that it's come to, you know, been a fisticuffs, but, you know, these situations in these locker rooms, and I can't say this enough, man, because people still act like this is 10 years ago, and it's not. There's so much more player freedom to just literally be like, man, you know what? I'm out. I'm leaving. Right. I don't want to hang out with you guys. I don't want to go to practice every day. So not only that, but if you're at Bama and you decide to leave, probably get pretty good money going somewhere. So it's different, man. Like I said, I'm trying to be a captive of the times, and say, well, it needs to be this way, because a lot of the things happening now are not things that I dealt with, or that we dealt with. So I don't know, man. I would love to know the model of accountability that we're dealing with over there and see what that looks like. But it's got to be somebody. I'll say that somebody's got to have a conversation with somebody, and they need to come together on some of those issues.
Guys, thanks for hanging out with us. The All-American Report here on Cover Crimson. I'm going to give you a very Bama thing to do. Auburn fans probably would get confused by this because it is more than one instruction at once. But what I would love for you to do is, first off, say Roll Tide by giving us a thumbs up, man. We appreciate that. It's a way to help the video's analytics, and it also says that you enjoyed the show. The other thing is subscribe to the channel. We're building this thing up. Share with your Alabama friends, too. I mean, tell them how to get here as we try to build this channel, and then hit the bell so you know when we're live. Also, covercrimson.com until Sunday. Get that, initial month for $1. And also, as we keep building this, the OGs, the originals are going to have like a special badge that'll go on the message board so that you can say, hey, man, I was there when you guys started. So we want you guys to be a part of that. If you get the annual subscription, you get the Cover Crimson t-shirt for just $1. And we're brought to you by mybookie.ag. Use the promo code next round to double your initial deposit. And definitely a lot to get into as far as that goes. You got World Series going starting on Friday. You got NBA coming. You got college basketball coming, NFL, which has been really great. By the way, Derrick Henry with another amazing performance for the Ravens. Looks like he should have been there the whole time. He just fits that Ravens persona. And college football. Mike, another great job, man. And we'll get back together again this week. Roll Tide.
Let's do it, man. Roll Tide.